With the Drivers' Championship mathematically secured by Max Verstappen at the last race in Las Vegas, the F1 circus is now focused on the fight for the Constructors' title. With 2 Grands Prix remaining, 3 teams are still in contention: McLaren, Ferrari, and Red Bull. However, the reigning champions are only mathematically involved and could be forced to concede defeat before the final race in Abu Dhabi. The situation is different for McLaren and Ferrari, who are separated by 24 points with a maximum of 103 points still available. The Lusail track will also host the final sprint race of the season. McLaren could seal the title this weekend with a combination of results favoring Andrea Stella's team. However, Ferrari, at least theoretically, still holds its fate in its own hands. With 2 1-2 finishes in the Qatar and Abu Dhabi Grands Prix, Charles Leclerc and Carlos Sainz would overturn the deficit separating them from Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri, even if the Papaya cars finished 3rd and 4th in both races. At that point, Ferrari would only need a few points from the Qatar sprint to clinch the title. This is what the math suggests, but on track, the situation is much more complex. Observers widely agree that McLaren will be the favorite in Qatar due to the characteristics of the Lusail circuit. For Ferrari to maintain control of their destiny, they must head to Abu Dhabi trailing Woking by fewer than 17 points. In that scenario, the Reds would only need a 1-2 finish at Yas Marina to celebrate without worrying about Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri's results. However, between theory and practice lies the desert, and a Grand Prix where the SF24S on paper are starting as underdogs. The prancing horse is therefore under pressure not to lose ground on a circuit better suited to the Woking team, which in Lusail has the opportunity to deliver the decisive blow. On a track that rewards high-speed aerodynamic load and stability through corners, the MCL38 single-seater is ready to perform at its best, but the risk of graining keeps Maranello's hopes alive. All this while Mercedes and Red Bull remain poised to play the role of disruptors. For months, Ferrari team principal Frederic Vasseur has not hidden the challenges the Italian side is set to face in the upcoming weekend. Most recently, he admitted that on paper, Qatar is not the best track for Ferrari. Lusail lacks the slow and short-duration corners of Las Vegas or Mexico City, which have been favorable to Ferrari. On the contrary, it features a wealth of fast turns taken at speeds between 200 and 250 kilometers per hour, particularly highlighted by the triple right-hand corner in the final sector. The high speeds through corners shorten braking phases, with just 4.2 g of deceleration at the most severe braking point in Turn 1, according to Brembo simulations. Lateral accelerations, however, increase significantly, reaching monstrous peaks of 4.8 g, levels not seen since the Silverstone round. The predominance of fast corners does evoke the British track, though in Qatar, the average lap speed of 230 km per hour is 20 km per hour lower than at Silverstone. This reflects the lack of long straights, except for the main one, allowing for the adoption of a high downforce aerodynamic setup. Overall, the Lusail track is the polar opposite of Las Vegas, requiring strong mid-corner stability, particularly in the first and last hairpins, as well as in the 3 long curves of the middle sector at around 100 km per hour. These characteristics favor McLaren, already competitive in 2023 and further improved in cornering performance since then. The MCL38 also boasts ample grip, making it resistant to the intense winds typical of the Qatari desert. Ferrari, on the other hand, is less competitive in these aspects, though it has improved front-end load thanks to the new front wing introduced in Singapore. The last race demonstrated how the type of track surface and environmental conditions can be even more decisive than the track layout alone. In Las Vegas, on a circuit seemingly tailor-made for Ferrari, cold temperatures hampered the SF24, struggling to heat its tires, and instead reviving Mercedes. In Qatar, the opposite scenario is expected. Temperatures will not be particularly high, with evening lows below 20 degrees Celsius, but Lusail is primarily a high-energy circuit. The track surface characteristics, high aerodynamic load levels, and abundance of long, fast, sequential corners are all factors that generate heat in the tires, further intensified by the high inflation pressures required to withstand the intense vertical loads. As a result, warming up the tires on a single lap will not be an issue. For the race, both degradation and graining are expected, though different from what was experienced in Las Vegas, where it was primarily triggered by the cold. The combination of fast corners and smooth track surface is particularly stressful for the tires, demanding maximum grip until reaching the braking load, leading to tearing and graining. At Pirelli, the phenomenon was already evident in 2023, as noted by Mario Isola at the time. The Pirelli boss pointed out that graining was a very significant factor across all compounds. Despite the challenges in Las Vegas, Ferrari remains one of the best teams in managing graining. McLaren, however, still has room for improvement, as highlighted by Andrea Stella following their loss at Monza for this very reason. The McLaren team principal admitted that the MCL38 car tends to be very gentle on the rear tires, but when they face graining on the front, McLaren are aggressive. Degradation will be another equally important wear mechanism, but its exact intensity remains uncertain, even though Pirelli is bringing the hardest compounds in the range, C1, C2, and C3. In 2023, the unexpected issue with pyramid curbs, which caused tire cuts, forced race direction to limit stint durations to 18 laps, effectively imposing a three-stop strategy that eliminated the need to manage pace. A two-stop strategy appears the most plausible for the upcoming edition, though the possibility of a one-stop strategy remains, a winning move in 2021, but with a completely different type of car. Limiting the number of stops would have a logical advantage in securing track position, given the significant impact of dirty air on the fast corners. Strategy choices will go hand in hand with tire availability. For this reason, it is unlikely that anyone will test race tires, most likely the hard compound, on Friday, preferring to save them for the following days. For the same reason, the most probable scenario is that teams will run the sprint on used medium tires, conserving them as much as possible during Friday's qualifying session. However, the gamble of running new or even hard tires on Saturday to maximize points in the sprint and playing the Grand Prix with a single stop cannot be ruled out. The impression is that strategy in Qatar will be a shot in the dark, with a range of variables undermining the confidence of those arriving as favorites, in this case, McLaren. And the others? Mercedes comes off a decisive 1-2 finish in the Las Vegas Grand Prix, a result facilitated by the low temperatures that allowed the W15 to hit its operating window, helped by the wise choice of a higher downforce setup to heat and protect the tires. The Silver Arrows, however, could also surprise in Qatar. The smooth asphalt allows for lower ride heights without triggering bouncing, while the fast corners highlight the strengths of the car's front end, mitigating its difficulties in sequential slow corners. The W15 has been more comfortable on circuits rich in high-speed corners like Silverstone and Spa, as confirmed by Toto Wolff. This means that Mercedes clearly benefited from the cold nights in Las Vegas, but at the same time Qatar's track design should be more favorable to the strengths of the Mercedes W15 car. Finally, there's Max Verstappen, fresh off his fourth world title. As he himself pointed out, Red Bull has recovered following the updates in Austin, though it is still not at the level of Ferrari and McLaren. The difficulties in Las Vegas can be seen as an isolated case, while Lusail should help bring the RB20 closer to the competition. Red Bull, along with Mercedes, is ready to interpose itself between McLaren and Ferrari, potentially steering the Constructors' Championship toward either Woking or Maranello.